If you are a married believer trying to navigate this intimacy thing without shame, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because you are in the right
My
place.
dad taught me that this is what love is. This is
Hmm.
what we do. It's just a special love between you and me, and we got to keep it a secret. And it still makes me a little emotional. I had never ever said it out loud. And I just heard the Lord say, "You're safe. This is a safe person to tell your story to." There was no real intimacy. We were more like roommates. If I'm getting real, I was still hooking up with my dad because that's what he had
Mm.
done my entire life. When it wasn't going well in my marriage or his marriage, we were like, "Oh, let's go to the hot tubs," you know? And
Hmm.
finally, I was like, "Oh, this is wrong." Like everything in me was screaming, "This is wrong." And I
Yeah.
finally got the courage to say, "We can't be doing this anymore." He had to tell me that a lot. "This is your husband. He is safe." I was like, "Whoa." I was like, "What are you talking about? Honoring? I don't need to be honored." He's like, "Yes, you do, Taleah. Yes, you do. You deserve to be honored. I want you to be honored. You won't have the marriage that God designed for you if you don't do your part, and your part
Yeah.
is healing."
Welcome to the space where we tell our truth. Testimony, healing, breaking shame loose. Learning our bodies and walking by faith. Intimacy God's way, right here is the place. Sex ed for saints. Mondays at 6. We believe in the power of the story. Not just pain, but redemption and glory. Faith in the rhythm, hearts in the mix. Trust in educators. Mondays at 6. We're overcoming by the word of these testimonies. People getting free when we speak what's holy. Healing in our hearts, shame starts to split. Every story told, another chain gets stripped. Learning our bodies, learning His way. Intimacy and faith, walking day by day. This is where we heal, where the truth sticks. Sex for saints, Mondays at 6.
I'm so excited to finally share this book with you. Hey God, Can I is available now. Find the link in my bio to get your copy.
Hey friends, quick pause in this lesson because I need to put you onto something that has been blessing so many households. This episode has been sponsored by Covenant Eyes, the accountability app that helps you protect your eyes, your mind, and your marriage. If you're serious about keeping your digital life pure, guarded, and God honoring, Covenant Eyes is a game changer. It helps you to stay accountable online and creates a safe space for your heart and your home. And listen, because you are a part of the Marriage Lab, you get 30 days free when you use my code Marriage Lab. So go ahead, take that step, cover your. So, hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Listen, y'all, I am so excited for the conversation that we are getting ready to have today. I have my girl, Taleah Pletzer, on the line. And when I tell you she has a story, she has a story. But before we get into it, I want to make sure that we lighten up the tone a little bit. And so I have something that usually I would begin my podcast with a question from the audience, and we answer those questions and we just dive into the conversation. But I wanted to do something a little bit different. And so I have something called the lightning round. And so I'm just going to ask
Mm.
questions and we're going to answer those just to lighten up the mood. And so the first question is, and this is just called, it's just a lightning round. It's just lightning round. And so I'm going to ask you, Taleah, do you like coffee or tea? And tell us why.
I actually like both. I've had a recent heart issue with my heart, so I can't drink coffee anymore. So I
Oh,
love chicory brewed coffee. So I just put
mm,
my creamer and flavorings in there, and it tastes just like coffee without the side effects, and it's
yeah,
delicious and healthy.
yeah, yeah. I'm a tea person. Like,
Oh.
give me a tea, right? And I think it's because I'm originally from the islands, and the islands are
Mm.
still like European, and so
Yeah.
everything about Europe is all about tea. And so, like,
Oh,
give
that's
me a
true.
tea, yeah, give me my tea, and then give me like a nice, comfy little blanket, and like I'm out, like I'm chill.
I love
I
that. I
love it.
love
I love it.
hibiscus
Okay.
tea and all that too.
Oh yeah. 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 Do you prefer the beach, living on the mountain, or let me say, visiting a mountain, or staying at home?
Oh, that's a hard one. I live in the mountains, so I love, love, love the mountains. And I also love the beach, but I don't live anywhere near the beach. So I do love both. I love the ocean because it's never ending. It's just out there going and going and going. Um, and one time I was at this beachfront just having some prayer time, and the Lord was so awesome. I was just praying and thanking Him for the day and all that. And all of a sudden, He just said, I'm like, man, this ocean is just endless, Lord. It just really is cool that you created such a enormous, thing. And, it
Mhm.
was just amazing. And he said, like I sensed him saying, Yeah, as endless as my love for you is this ocean. And I
Mm,
was like, oh, wow, it
that's
was
so
just so cool.
good.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That is so good. I live next to a beach. I grew up in the Bahamas, between Georgia and the Bahamas. So I live next to the beach. Live in
Oh.
Georgia right now, and we have a lot of mountains, but I don't live on the mountains like you. Like I love to go to the mountains because I think that it's like magic that happens when you go up there. Like you
Mhm.
go on another level with God. And so I know your prayer closet must be real good.
Yeah,
Living up there.
I also live about an hour and a half from Lake Tahoe, California. There's Nevada and California side. And so there's retreats that we have up there and I've been a part of. And let me tell you, there's nothing that I've experienced so far that is like Lake Tahoe. It is just so
Mhm,
serene and quiet.
mhm.
And you've got the best of both worlds. You've got the mountains, you've got beautiful trees, and you have a beautiful lake. And you can meet with God like none other. It just quiets yourself. It's amazing. I love going up there.
I love it. I need to put that on my list of places that I need to visit.
You do.
I do.
Let's connect. I'll go to Tahoe
Yes,
with you.
for sure, for sure. Okay, let me get another one. Do you like music, silence, or prayer?
I would say prayer and music, definitely.
Yeah.
I am a music worship girl. I love to
Mhm.
worship.
Yeah. It's something about worship that just takes you right on in.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's me.
it's love it.
Yeah, that's me too. That's me too. I love that. I love that. Okay, one more. You like sunrise or sunset?
I would have to say sunsets. I am not a morning person, so I do not get up on Easter. Yeah, maybe, but and we do sometimes the pre-sunset. I don't know what it's called right now.
Mhm,
Um, the dawn,
mhm.
Easter dawn service, and oh man, it kills me when we do that. But um, so sunsets, we have really incredible sunsets where I live. Because I live kind of out of town on a ranch. Me and my
Mhm.
husband run a ranch together, and man, we just sit out there and it's beautiful, like pinks and blues and purple
Yeah,
sometimes. And oh my gosh, it's just heaven. We have rocking chairs we put outside and we just relax. It's so great. I just
I
love it.
love it. I love it. I'm a morning person. Like my body wakes up at 4 a.m. every morning.
Oh, you remind me of
Yeah.
like my husband. He is up. And now I have my little dog I'm trained to be my service dog, and he is the same way. And it kills me every morning. He waits until my husband comes in the room. And my husband's awesome. He'll let me sleep until 6:30 or 7. And
Mhm,
as soon as my husband comes, he's like, oh, the dog's like, it's time to get up. And he's jumping on me and licking all over me. And I'm like, stop, get off me.
mhm, mhm. That's what they
So it's
do.
pretty
Don't
funny.
nobody know how to interrupt sleep more than your dog. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you for that lightning round. I wanted to kind of like lighten up the tone a little bit before we got into the conversation because, as I
Yeah.
mentioned, it is heavy. Or audience, you do not know my guest. Her name is Taleah, and Taleah, I want you to tell the audience a little bit about who you are, what it is that you do.
Thanks, Tammy. Well, I'm Talia, like Tammy said. I'm a mother of 5 girls. Yes, all girls. They are ranging from 39 down to 16. So, yeah, we spread it out a little bit. God knew what he was doing, though. And I run a small family ranch with my husband. We have 10 acres and we have sheep and cows and chickens, and we've had ducks, we've had pigs, you name it, we kind of experiment and do it. I homeschooled most of my children. And so I'm an educator. I love learning. I love teaching. Now God has called me to be an Immanuel prayer practitioner. It's healing prayer. I walk alongside women who've had trauma. Trauma is my focus. I love to meet you where you're at and just, be with you and provide a safe space for you. And we connect with the real, tangible, living presence of Jesus using brain science and biblical principles. And let me tell you from a personal experience, it's amazing. Like it's nothing like you've ever experienced before. And it is how I got my main healing a few years ago, actually through COVID.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's me.
I absolutely love that. And we're going to get a little bit into that a little bit later because, when I heard of Immanuel Healing, I've never heard of it before, but God with us and how to
Mhm.
correlate the two, like I'm intrigued. So I want to know more. But well, there's a reason why you're doing what you're doing. And so I kind of want to tap into that. I want to hear a little bit about your upbringing, your growing up. So tell us a little bit about what shaped your childhood.
Yeah, I grew up with, like, 4 stepmothers, and my biological mom abandoned me as a baby, young child. And so my dad was a single dad for quite a while. My grandparents kind of helped until he got out of the military. And then grew up with him, and then he got remarried, and he just didn't like to be alone. So
Yeah.
when one relationship wouldn't work out, he'd go to the next, go to the next. And in the midst of all this chaos, he was sexually abusing me. So there
Mm,
were lots of fights, lots of drugs involved. We hid. Our home was very chaotic. I did not know about peace. I couldn't quiet myself growing up. Even being a mom, my nervous system, I had no idea what your nervous system was, the vagal
mhm.
response. I've just learned about this in the last 5 years, honestly. I had
Yeah.
no idea. I always felt inside that like something's wrong with me. I always do. I'm just different. Like, what is wrong with me? And I
Yeah.
took on the guilt and the shame of my abuse. And I took it on as like I was doing it. I actually
Yeah.
thought I was a willing participant for years and years because it went on for so long. And my
Yeah.
dad taught me that this is what love is. This is
Mhm.
what we do. It's just a special love between you and me, and we got to keep it a secret. And not
Yeah,
only
yeah.
was that going on, some other men in my family also started to abuse me. So every
Mm,
man in my family that was supposed to protect me and honor me did the opposite. And
yeah.
so when it comes to talking about like marriage and intimacy in marriage, it was hard. It was so difficult. Everything triggered me. You had Larissa on a week or so ago. I just listened to it and she was dead on. I resonated so much
Mhm.
with what she said. I would get triggered and I wouldn't have words. So I couldn't tell my
Mhm.
husband what triggered me. And then he would be like, well, what is going on? Why are you
Yeah.
triggered? Like, I'm trying to love you. I don't get it. And then he'd get upset because he felt like I was rejecting him. And I
Mhm.
didn't have words. I didn't know how
Yeah.
to explain, like, this particular move or whatever you're doing is, like, it's really triggering me. And it could
Yeah.
be out of left field. I would be fine, and then all of a sudden, boom, I was not fine.
Yeah, it's amazing how, trauma responses manifest within our lives when,
Mhm.
something has occurred. But when you speak, you just loaded off on us just now. There's so many layers to everything it was that you just said. And I kind of want to take it back a little bit because it began with the story of you being abandoned by your mom,
Mhm.
right? And so I believe that we all have these experiences that we have in life that create the sexual stories that we have as we mature and as we go on. And so, you went from abandonment, and then from there, what was your parents together, or were they like were they in a relationship? Was it the both of them? You were living with your dad, and then your mom abandoned you. Like, how was that dynamic?
They were married when I was born, and my dad was in the military, so we were in Okinawa, Japan, and my biological mom I guess she just wasn't ready to be a mom at that point.
Mhm.
She'd had a lot of stuff in her own life. Um, and so she just wasn't ready. And so I guess she just decided, she couldn't do it anymore. And my
Yeah.
dad was pretty tough on her from what I've heard. I wasn't really aware, so
Mhm.
just family telling me stories that she just couldn't hang. So I really didn't know my biological mom.
Mhm.
My first stepmom was my mom growing up, and they
Mhm.
had a very volatile marriage. Um, I mean, it was extreme. There was
Mm.
drugs in
And
and
about how
out.
old were you during that time?
They met when I was about 3, and I think they were together for a really long time before they actually got married, but we never knew that. We always just thought, "Oh,
Okay.
it's mom and dad."
Yeah.
So they were together for, like, 12 years until I was
Mhm.
about 12 or 12,
Yeah.
13, and then they got divorced too.
Yeah.
So that was very traumatic for me also, and in the midst of that, my dad was abusing me the whole entire time, and nobody knew it.
Wow. And and
Mhm.
and I like I don't even know how to sit with that, right? Because now you're in a situation where you are being abandoned by your biological mother, and now you're having to
be raised by your father, who you are now in a circumstance where you are being violated. Like, growing up, how do you feel like that was shaping you, who you are?
Yeah, that's a great question. It shaped me to feel not worthy
Mhm,
a lot. I had so many insecurities, um, and just feelings of inadequacy, feeling, and then, as at first, when I was younger and it just kind of started, and he'd come in my bedroom and caress me and, touch me and get in bed with me in the bunk bed, I'd be like, oh, and I would freeze. I would try to pretend I was asleep so he wouldn't, touch me. And
mhm,
that didn't work. And so when that didn't work, I would go to, oh, I don't feel good.
mhm,
Dad, I don't feel good. So that manifested into physical symptoms also that you talked with Larissa about on your show. I had the
mhm,
same exact thing. So I never felt good. Everybody called me a hypochondriac.
mhm,
It was just very tough. We
mhm,
were living in this secret, like it was a secret. And my dad always told me, like, this is our special secret. This is just what we do. This is how we show each other love. So
mhm.
I equated that to love. However, the sexual part, I felt dirty and disgusting and gross.
Yeah.
And so when I grew up and became an adult and, started having relationships, I equated sex to, oh, no, this is dirty. This
Mhm.
is a duty. This is just something that I have to do to please a
Yeah.
man. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't about, me or me wanting to be um, enjoyable or any of that.
Yeah. 'Cause it's almost like you're without even recognizing, your body is kind of building up this defense because it knows what's happening is not right. And
Mhm.
so it's training your nervous system to respond. And how long was the abuse happening?
Until my late teens.
Yeah. So your body is getting adjusted and used to this kind of engagement. And so when it came to, like, when did you begin dating?
I believe I was 16, 15,
Yeah.
16. Yeah.
And so as you are dating, like, how was the dynamics between you and those who you were dating? Knowing, well, I guess I'm not sure if you were communicating with others what was happening to you or whatnot, but like, how was the dynamics between you and the person you were dating, with the trauma that you've experienced?
Yeah. I It was very difficult. So I didn't have sex premarital.
Mhm,
I waited. Well, actually, never mind. I did with my first husband. My first husband was like my first quote unquote boyfriend,
mhm,
serious boyfriend. Um, and I was not saved at that time, and I didn't really know about Jesus. I'd heard about him and
mhm,
stuff, but I had a lot of, like I said, insecurities.
mhm,
And I just really I wanted to be loved, you know what I mean, in a good way. I wanted to be really loved and cherished. And so my insecurities led to me allowing different things, him to do different things, him to treat me poorly, him to talk about me poorly. And I thought, oh, because he told me one time, you think you can do better. This is what marriage is.
mhm,
And so I was like, "Oh, wow." And then because I had grown up with such volatile marriages between my dad
mhm.
and his partners, I really thought, "Oh, okay, I guess this is the best I can do, and this is where I'm at."
Yeah.
And then, we had a child, and so I was like, "Oh, now I really gotta stay because I've got this kid, I can't leave." Um, and I had a lot of insecurities. There was no real intimacy. We were more like, um, roommates.
Mhm.
Not not intimate at all, really, not, connected, not one, and
Yeah.
I didn't even know anything about that.
Mhm.
Um, and then, like, the midst of that, if I'm getting real, occasionally, like, I was still going my and hooking up with my dad because that's what he'd
Mm.
done my entire life. So I
Yeah.
had no clue. I didn't know. I mean, I knew it was wrong, but I had grown up with this is what love was, this is
Yeah.
what we did. And when it wasn't going well in my marriage or his marriage, we were like, "Oh, let's go to the hot tubs." And
Mhm.
finally I was like, "Oh, this is wrong." Like everything in me was screaming, "This is wrong." And I
Yeah.
finally got the courage to say, "We can't be doing this anymore. Like we have got no, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm married.
Yeah.
This is wrong." And he was just like, "What? No, it's okay. Whatever we do, we do." And I was like, no, like, this is really wrong. I just
Mhm.
sensed it, and I kind of had Jesus a little bit, but not, deep. But I just knew like it was him. Looking back, it was totally him
Yeah.
convicting me, being like, "This girl, no, like you can't
Yeah,
be
I,
doing
I
this."
think I think it's an interesting word when we say convicting, because when I'm thinking about the scenario, you're being in a situation where you're kind of being groomed into what is happening to you, and so your mindset is based around the experiences that you're having and what it is that you're being told. It reminds me of a story. I used to go to a church, and a lot of things happened within the church. It
Mhm.
awesome church. It was an awesome church, and during that time that I was there, the church broke up because it didn't
Mm.
completely break up, but there was somebody there who was having a relationship with the pastor. And so when I had an opportunity, the
Mm.
pastor did a podcast episode with somebody, and he was saying, "Yeah, I had a 12-year extramarital affair with someone who was within the church," and
Oh,
that
wow.
person did a video on they did their own podcast. The person he was having an affair with, and she was like, "This was my spiritual father. And when I came into the church, I was 18 years old. And, when, I kind of like moved into the house and he kind of nurtured me. I was newly saved. I was a babe in Christ. And we used to have Bible study. And then, one day he kissed me and he kind of nurtured her into the role of
Mm.
what it was that he was doing. And so
Mhm.
he abused his authority. And now she felt tied and obligated to it." And then she goes on to tell a story about how, he ended up marrying her and the person who she was getting married to, and he became their marriage counselor, and she was still sleeping with him during this time. And I think that when it comes to these dynamics, it really plays a role on sexual behavior, because she couldn't fully engage with her spouse, and it's a spiritual father in that element, but on your end it's your actual father. And so it's almost kind of like those dynamics, because they are abusing the role and what
Yeah.
they have to violate you. And because this is something that you've been groomed into, it's not something that you're doing in cognitive, right? Like, we're thinking, my brain
Yeah.
has been trained to respond this way. And then I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure, in your situation, like you just explained the scenario of where you're like sitting down and you're telling him this is wrong. It's kind of like manipulation, right? Like, no, we got to do this. This is what we're supposed to do. And I think that it's very unfortunate, because you're in a marriage and you can't fully give yourself to that person because of the dynamics of what's happening. And so, what did that do for your marriage?
Well, nobody knew,
Mhm.
at that time, like, nobody knew. I was sworn to secrecy, and I was scared to death of the consequences if I
Mhm.
was to ever share the secret. So, nobody knew about what was going on.
Mhm.
But it did, like, it was an out when something was going on in that marriage. Then if I was having a hard time or we just were arguing or whatever, or my dad was arguing in his marriage, well, we just came together. Like it
Yeah.
just, we had a place basically to go um, where we could check out of our marriages, which was very, very not good, very wrong.
Yeah.
But, like you said, I was very much groomed from the time, gosh, a little bit started when I was like 3 and 4, and a little
Mhm.
bit more, and then,
Yeah.
it just continued. And then not only like his abuse led to other abuses because I felt like I always had this target and I did, like on my
Mhm.
back,
Yeah.
because other men saw me as easy, like an
Mhm.
easy victim, easy prey. And I
Yeah.
was. And so all around me, men, like friends of my dad's would hit on me, this, and I'd be like, oh
Mm.
my gosh. So like your previous guest, Larissa, I did similar things that she did. I
Yeah.
hid my clothes. I was like, oh, it's me. It's my fault. I'm wearing the wrong clothes. I look too attractive. So I was like, all right. I wore huge, heavy sweaters, like big, baggy clothes. Baggiest, the better. Could not tell. Like my,
Yeah.
my current husband had this sweater and he hated it because it was big. It was huge. I always wore this stuff. Well, I got sick at work and passed out,
Yeah.
and they ended up cutting it off of me. And so he loved it because he hated it.
Oh my
But for
gosh.
me, I was so
Yeah.
insecure at that time that I wore the huge clothes. I would not wear any form fitting jeans, pants. Like now I wear leggings
Yeah.
now. I wear, comfortable, cute clothes. I'm
Yeah.
still very modest, very
Yeah.
much so. However, now
What you're
I can
finding.
look cute. Now I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is cute. This is,
Yeah.
I can feel sexy
Yeah.
sometimes. I can do
You
that
were
now.
kinda, like, walking it out on your own.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, and,
Mhm.
like, it kinda reminds me of, I wanna take a pause right here because a lot of times when people are going through traumatic events and things like this is happening, they're not communicating, they're taking all of that in on their own, and so
Mhm.
I just wanna talk a little bit about the importance of acknowledging what it is that you have experienced so that it can be released because, like you mentioned, you didn't share with your spouse. What was that breaking moment that said, "I just can't do this anymore"? Like, was there a moment that happened where you said, "I have to begin speaking about this"?
No, actually, it was the Lord.
Mhm,
So that first marriage ended due to irreconcilable differences. We both did some things and sinned, and it just didn't work.
mhm,
I got remarried, met my husband, and he is amazing. He lifted me up. I was a people pleaser. I didn't have any self esteem. I would let people roll all over me. And it was because of how I, grew up. And so he would come alongside me. He would help me. We'd only been married, my current husband and I had only been married about a year or so, maybe a year and a half. Um, and I was on the worship team at church. And one of my dearest friends back then, and we were all, after worship, we're all hanging out talking at night after worship practice. And she says something to the whole group, and I about was like, oh my gosh. She said, "Oh yeah, our my dad molested me." And I
mhm,
thought, what? I'd never heard that ever. I'd heard of uncles and people you didn't know, and coaches. Never ever in this point in my life, and I'm almost like at this point I was almost 24
mhm,
years old, and I had never heard a dad. Like I thought in my head I was the only one who a dad, your own father, because it was just I felt like I said disgusting. Like and especially I'm older, so I grew up in the 70s, 80s, especially during those times we just didn't talk about those things. Nobody did. And
mhm,
so I went home and, I was reeling and thinking about what she said and I couldn't believe it. Didn't want her to know that, something happened to me like that. So I tried to hide it. And then I went home and in the shower, like day after day, every time I got in the shower, the Lord would just knock on my heart. I would sense him saying, "You need to go tell this woman. You need to go tell your friend." And I was
mhm,
like, "No, are you crazy? I can't. There's no way I'm telling anybody," because I was threatened within an inch of my life.
yeah,
I had been threatened by my dad um, all growing up with different scenarios depending on the severity. Um,
mhm,
and the older I got, the threats got deeper and more
mhm,
severe. So I was terrified. That's a good word, terrified. That if I said anything, I was going to be dead. I was like, nope. So the Lord just kept saying, no, go to this person, go to, um, and for privacy reasons, I'm going to keep her name private.
right,
But I was like, he was just kept knocking on my heart like every time. And finally I was like, okay, God, okay. And I finally called her and I said, hey, um, I'm supposed to talk to you about something. Can I come over? It's pretty serious. Can we talk alone? Because she had a lot of kids and I had kids. And so they go,
mhm,
yeah. She's like, we'll just, get together. So amazing. God is so good. He was just with me through all of this.
yeah,
He orchestrated it to where she knew, like she already knew. God was already talking to her also saying, Taleah's going to come to you and she's going to tell you a similar story to yours. And she's like, all right. So she was prepared. So I went to her house and I had never uttered the words, my dad abused me. I'd never,
mhm,
still makes me a little emotional. I had never ever said it out loud.
yeah,
So we're on her bench outside and she says, so what's up? I know you have something important to tell me. And she grabs my hand and I was like, wow. And I just heard the Lord say, you're safe. This is a safe person to tell your story to. So I did. I uttered the words, "My dad sexually abused me for most of my life." And
yeah,
she didn't act shocked, like she didn't act surprised, nothing. She just grabbed me and she hugged me. And the first thing she said was, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault." And I was like, "Yes, it is." And I really believed it was. And
mhm,
she said, "No, your dad made a choice. He was the adult. He made the choice, not you. You were the child." And I said, "Yeah, but you don't know the whole story." And she goes, "I don't have to know it. God knows it. And he brought you here to me." So she, through that, helped me get counseling. And I went to group counseling for a while. And
mhm.
that's when I started my healing journey.
I love how intentional God is because he knew that you could not carry the weight of that anymore. And he created the space for you to be able to free yourself of all of that,
Mhm.
because you're
Yeah.
in a whole marriage where you are holding all of this.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure that, and I'm just guessing because I'm not in your marriage. I wasn't in that particular marriage, but I'm guessing that your responses to him, what it did to
Mhm.
the intimacy, like all of the things, like I'm pretty sure it made everything difficult. And so
Yeah.
I'm so glad that
Mhm.
God is so intentional of, even though we are experiencing traumatic things, that he still brings it back, because it makes that scripture come alive where it says all things work together for the good. It
Mhm.
doesn't even sound like that should be a scenario where, no, God, like I'm being abused here. How is this going to work out for the good? But yet we're here having this conversation because somebody else is going through it. And it was by the person who revealed their story that you were able to even share to free you. And
Mhm.
now look at the path that you're on. Like that is amazing. That only God
Mhm.
can do that.
Oh, yeah.
Only a good God can
Mhm.
do that. And so you're at this facility or the group therapy that you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, and so they were able to walk with you. Were you married again at this time, or?
Yes, I was married to my second husband. We'd been married about a year or so, year and a
Mhm,
half. Um, and at first, I was the enemy and myself had conversations. I always had conversations with myself in my head because I couldn't trust anybody else. So, I talked to myself all the time.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so I told myself, like, and the enemy was like, if you tell him the truth that your dad, like, he just made me feel disgusting. He was like, if
mhm,
you tell him the truth, he's going to divorce you. And I
mm,
was like, oh my gosh, like, no. And so I told him it was another relative, which it was. I mean, that happened too. But I told him
mhm,
I was going to counseling, not for my dad, because I just didn't know how to even broach the subject. Like, I
yeah,
didn't even know how to share this with him.
mhm,
Um, and then I did. Then I brought that same friend to the house and she sat with me and we told him and he was like, wow. And he just couldn't believe it. He was dumbfounded. He was just in such shock. And then he just hugged me, and I mean, I was bawling, bawling, telling him. And he just hugged me and loved me and told me, "I am so sorry, babe. I'm so, so sorry. And I'm so glad you're going to counseling." And he just was there. Like, he was like, "He's not seen our kid. He's not." I'm like, "Yep, nope, you're right." And so he was just protector of me. Like, God finally brought me the man that would protect me here on earth. Like, he protects me. He has always been for me. And I mean, it took some rough times of walking through some really tough stuff, me freaking out because, like I said, my nervous system was shot. I had no idea. How do I regulate my immune system? My not my immune system, but that too, my nervous system. Like, how do I do it? Was so out of function all the time. So I would freak out. I would have these freakouts, and my husband was my calm. He would be like, "Hey, hey, hey," even if I could be screaming at him, and he would be like, "Yo, yo, no, 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 no," like, and he'd grab me and hug me, and to get me to slow down and just calm, and I'd be like, "But no," and I'm screaming at him and trying to hit him, and he's like, "Nope," and he would just pull me in and hug me,
yeah,
and he just, really, God sent him to me. Like, I
yeah.
just know that.
I love how your husband played a role in your healing process, because many people don't have that.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't understand that, and you went through a lot of trauma. And so sometimes I hear like, why won't they tell their spouse? Like, how do you stay in a marriage and hold this? It's because when somebody has been abused, especially in the
Mhm.
under the circumstances of what happened to you, something similar, you need a safe space in order to do that.
Yep.
You need a safe space in order to be able to release. And sometimes it's not the spouse that's not safe. And I'm saying that publicly because I need people to understand that, just because you're not communicating with the spouse doesn't mean that your spouse is unsafe. Sometimes it's the scenarios you're creating in your head, in the circumstances of like what you
Mhm.
did. Like, you created the scenarios that told yourself he wasn't a safe space. And so, I think it's important to let people know that, so that they can understand that, not everybody is
Mhm.
going to tell right away, but it's important that you have somebody who's going to be able to walk that process out with you. And so I'm thinking about, with me and my spouse, there were moments because I didn't recognize that some of the trauma that I experienced was, going to manifest within the marriage. And so like we
Mhm.
would be in the middle of engaging and I would just bawl out crying if he touched me wrong. And I didn't even know why I was crying. I didn't
Yeah.
know that it was attached to,
Mhm.
okay, you got to deal with this. You got to
Yeah.
take it back.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
now
get
let's
that.
walk through that. Yeah, let's walk through that. Like,
Mhm.
how was that process for you and him and help people understand how, their spouses can play a role in helping them with that process.
So, yeah, when you say, I didn't think I had a safe space, that's exactly it. Even though he was, like you're saying, like, I didn't think that because I had never had a safe man ever growing up in my life, ever. Like, I didn't have a safe man to go to. And so, it affected the way I responded, like, because especially, and I still struggle with this, like, it's still a little bit hard for me. Um, but I'm getting better and I have to just talk to myself like, you're okay, it's all right. I tell you, it might sound crazy, but it really helps. Like, I talk to myself. So we'd be in bed, like, he'd start caressing me, or if like I went to bed first and then he comes to bed and I'm already asleep, that no, like, I don't do that well because that's what my dad did. So I'm like, nope. And I didn't have words, like you said. So he'd start touching me and, want to be intimate. And I would be like, whoa. And I'd wake up and be like, no, oh my, ah. And I'd panic. I'd like freak out because it was true. I was triggered, but I didn't have those words um, at that time. So he would be like, what happened? What just happened? Like, he had no idea. He's like, wait a minute here. And I would say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, honey. That triggers me. And so being able to have that open conversation with your spouse, significant other is really, really important. And getting support. And I love how you said with your last guest, Larissa, owning it. You have to take responsibility for our own healing. I had to do it. No one else can walk the walk for you. Yes, this person did this to you, or persons in my case, but we, unfortunately, that's just where you're at. We have to walk it out. If you want the healing, you got to grab it, you got to own it. And it takes work. It's not easy. It took me, I mean, I've been doing this for years and I got a little bit at a time, little bit here and there, a little more. But then God just knew when I needed it and how I needed it. And he totally opened the right doors at the right time. So I would encourage y'all, like, talk to your spouse. If you haven't told your spouse yet, go tell a friend that you trust. Make sure they're trustable and trustworthy. I'm going to say that. Um, in my book, I talk about that too. You need a trustworthy person. If your girlfriend is can't wait to share the tea and the gossip with you, that's not your safe person. If your friend that you're thinking about telling your story to can't wait to tell you about other people's tea and gossip, no, that's
Yeah.
not your person either.
Yeah.
You need to find someone that is safe, truly safe, whether that's a counselor, a friend, a coworker, a coworker, somebody at church, doesn't matter. Make sure because you've got to trust that. And if you
Mhm.
tell the wrong person and it gets out and then they start gossiping, it'll just derail it'll derail your progress.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see women do that either.
Yeah.
So yeah, going back to that, we had to walk through a lot of that. Like, and
Mhm.
certain touches he does, certain things like grabbing my hands, my wrists, like,
Mhm.
no, like, I still struggle with that. Like, it's a big
Mhm.
no-no.
Yeah.
Because I was held down. I was held down and raped and hurt. Like, so
Yeah.
that's a big, like, I don't go for that. Like, straddling me, being on top of me like that, kind of holding my legs. Nope. Don't do that
Yeah.
either. So you have to
Yeah.
start learning your own triggers
Yeah.
and getting words to tell your spouse in those moments. Trigger is a great word. I never had that word. Like, I had no idea. I'm so glad we are where we are today now with all these words, and we have words and people have given us words now,
Yeah.
because I mean, I really like it. I think it's been a little bit overused, but it is a good word. And now, women, I want to encourage you to, with your spouse, be like, hey, wait, whoa, and be able to just get words. If you have to say, hey,
Mhm.
I need a minute, just
Mhm.
can you give me a minute?
Yeah.
It's not you, and making sure to say, like, it's not you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
This is just something, like, because my husband felt like it was him. My husband was like,
Mm.
what the heck? Like, I didn't
'Cause
even
he
do anything.
didn't
Like, wait a
know.
minute.
Yeah. He didn't
No. So
know.
He
Mhm.
felt rejected. Like at
Yeah.
first, he felt rejected. He was like, well, okay. And then he'd get upset. He'd be like, fine, you tell me when it's okay to
Yeah.
be, intimate. So I was like, I'm so sorry.
And I know,
And
like,
I felt
I
bad.
wanna unpack that a little bit because, like, how are you present with your like, how did that work on your presence with intimacy, or how did it evolve over time, with the dynamics as you were walking through your healing process? Because I'm thinking, like, if you're in a situation with like where sex is now associated with your father and other
Hmm.
abuses that was happening to you, for me, like, what I would think is, okay, there would be a disconnect there. And
Hmm.
so when it comes to like engaging, like, how do you then reconnect to somebody who's actually loving you? And so, like, how did you change your viewpoints as it relates to intimacy so that you could be fully present for your spouse? I guess that's
Mm,
what I'm asking.
yeah, I love that. So for me personally, I have ADD. So I get really distracted with things going on. And so I learned that early on, because we would have like the TV on, or, because we got kids at home. So we got TV on and like some music or whatever in the background. Well, I learned for me, oh, no, because I will just disassociate. Because when I was going through my divorce, I'm sorry, abuse, that's what I would do. I would literally come up out of my body as the sex was happening with my father.
Mm,
I would come up out and I would disassociate. And the Lord would actually take me to a beautiful, beautiful place. And the Lord would be with me. And he was the only man. I wasn't afraid of this man. I didn't know who he was, but it was beautiful garden. And we just laughed and played and hung out under this tree. And just, it was so beautiful. And so I learned, oh, and so I would dissociate. So wanting to be present, my husband was like, "Hey, be present, kiss me." Like, what's good? He would notice. He would notice like I was out, I was gone, disassociate, and he'd like look at me, bring me back, and he'd say, "Oh, where'd you go? Like, what's going on?" I go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't." And at first, I didn't know. At first, it took me a long time to recognize, "Oh, that's what this is. I'm checking out. Like, I'm going over here." Because that's what I had to do to survive, honestly, for most of my life. So it was a long, very long, slow process. But it was a communicating. And now, like, we have to turn off the TV. I cannot have distraction. Um, I do candles and, music without words. Because I'm such a music person, as we discussed earlier, I can't have words because I'll be bopping to the, music and stuff and not focusing on, what's going on in my room
mhm.
trying to be intimate. So now, like, we focus on each other, and the Lord really, really helped me because I used to think, okay, especially being a Christian woman, and I just want to say this, if I may. I know a lot of women, and I was one of them as a Christian woman. We're taught, yep, it's a duty. You got to do this. Sex, when your man wants it, all the time, anytime, on demand type of thing. And it was so legalistic that I was told, and taught way back when, that I was like, okay, it's just a duty. So if I didn't feel like it, or I was hurting, or I was having a hard time, or had a stomach issue, or, I just didn't feel like it, I wasn't in the mood, and didn't feel sexy or whatever, I would still do it. I would be like, okay. I wouldn't tell him that, but I would just, in my mind, I was like, okay, it's a duty. I'm just going to do
Yeah.
this. And he'd notice and he'd be like, do you not want to be intimate? Like, it's okay. Like, we don't have to. And I was like, oh, we don't? Like, what? What? Wait. And so he was
Yeah.
very awesome and gentle. And he's like, no, like, this isn't a have to. I want to be with you. And he so wanted me to enjoy the moments and enjoy intimacy. And I didn't know how. I was like, "Wait a minute, what? You want me to enjoy this with you?" Like, he's like, "Yeah, it's supposed to be, this is what God designed. We're supposed to become one and come together, and be one." And so it was the Lord, like, I'd lay there and we'd start, kissing and, being intimate, and the Lord would whisper to me, "He's safe." I would start to dissociate and go and check out, and the Lord would bring me back. The Holy Spirit would be like, "Nope, come back, girl." So I would come back, and he'd be like, "He is safe. This is your husband." I mean, he had to tell me that a lot. "This is your husband. He is safe. I orchestrated this. I designed this. This is how I designed it. This is how intimacy, and I created it to be this way. Beautiful, wonderful, healthy, wholesome, honoring." And I was like, whoa, I was like, what are you talking about? Honoring? I don't need to be honored. He's like, yes, you do. Taleah. Yes, you do. You deserve to be honored. I want you to be honored. And that's who I created your husband, to honor, to love you, to cherish you as Christ, as I love the church. So the Lord would have to a lot tell me that over and over again. He'd have to pop in there and he'd be like, it's okay. You're safe. This is good. This is safe. Your husband's safe. He's not going to hurt you. He's not going to do anything that you don't want him to do.
Yeah. I think that, man, God is so good because
Amen. Yeah.
you went from a space where you are connecting from your body to be present with God so that he didn't allow you to focus on the negative experience in that way,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
he knew that there was going to be a time where he wanted you to engage and understand the level of intimacy from the perspective of him. And then he met you there
Mm-hmm.
in your relationship. And then he says to you again, your husband is safe. This is your
Mm-hmm.
safe space. Now, this is the time where you can embrace and you can do all the things,
Yeah.
because now I'm here. I'm not here
Mm-hmm.
with you up there anymore. I'm here with you down here, because this is where I want you to enjoy, because I want you to understand that I love you and I value you and I value the
Mm-hmm.
intimacy that you have with your spouse. Man, that is so good. That is
Yeah.
so good. That is so
Oh,
good.
go ahead.
Go on.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. I was just going to say, I love what you're saying. And I love how the Lord met me exactly where I needed to be each time. He met me in the garden where he took me out of my body, away from the bad that was happening. And then he showed me how intimacy is supposed to look with him.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
speaking to your audience, like, he can do the same for you. I'm not an anomaly. Tammy's not an anomaly. We're not, like, it can happen for anybody, but you got to do the work. You got to let yourself heal and feel all the emotions, and don't be afraid of your emotions. Don't be afraid, especially with your spouse or your loved one, whoever it is. Don't be afraid to say, hey, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I'm just not comfortable. Let me go explore. Let me go kind of figure this out, talk to some people. Whatever support that you need, don't be afraid to get that support that you need, because it's important. Otherwise, it can ruin your marriage. Like, you won't have the marriage that God designed for you if you don't do your part, and your part
Yeah.
is healing.
I love that. I love that. Let me ask you, how long have you and your current spouse been together?
We have been married. We just celebrated 31 years.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. That's
Yeah, we've
beautiful.
been together for 33, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah.
33.
That's beautiful. God gave you exactly what it was that you needed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Gave you exactly what it was that you needed. Okay. Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let's talk about, the healing process. Because I know, you're in it's called the Immanuel Healing. Yes.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that and how that got started.
Well, actually, it got started for me through my own healing in 2020. So I'll go back a little bit. Like you said before, physical symptoms started to manifest in my body because my body could no longer hold the trauma. So as we age, ladies, when you're young, enjoy it because your body can take it. Your body just keeps holding the trauma, holding the trauma. When you start getting in your 40s and 50s, it no longer can do that. And so suddenly I was not taught. I didn't know how to handle all the stress in my life, just daily, everyday stuff. And so I had started having seizures, and they were
Mhm.
not epilepsy. My doctors here kept telling me, "Oh, you're just anxious. Here, take a pill, take a pill." And I was like, "No, this is not anxiety. There's something really wrong." And my husband was like, "Oh no, this is not anxiety. They're just throwing you pills. We're not
Mhm.
doing this." So 4 years of this, I struggled with these seizures,
Mm.
and they were only in the wintertime when it was cold. They were not in the summertime, which was, I'll get to that in a minute. And so long story short, 2020 hits, or the end of 2019, December. My husband had pushed and pushed and paperwork, because we had to start a trail, paper trail. To get somewhere else, you got to have a paper trail. So long story short, we went to San Francisco, and I got diagnosed with FND. It's functional neurological disorder, and
Mm.
it usually, not always, usually it's tied to sexual trauma. And
Mm.
they interview you, like, they don't take just anybody. So that was hard. They interview you before you see if you're a good fit or you're a candidate. Well, they interviewed me and I like had every single one of the crushed symptoms or whatever that they talked about. So I was like, oh, great. Um, and so I struggled because I was like, no, it's not that. Because my daughters had found it online before I got diagnosed with it. They're like, Mom, I think you have this. And I was like, no, I don't. I've already done all this healing. I went to counseling. I did this. I did that. No, it's not that. Because you got to understand, Tammy, I didn't want to be broken anymore.
Yeah.
I was so tired of feeling broken. So they were right. I had that. So I went to the next step, which is talking to psychologists. Like, okay, what does this mean? What do I do? They suggested CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, talk therapy, which I did that. It was great. However, the talk therapy doesn't get to the root. It teaches you how to learn new behaviors and modify your behaviors, but it does not get to the root of the issues. So I met this lady through a friend of mine. She was amazing, exactly who God just knows what you need when you need it. So she said, well, I don't do CBT, but I do this other thing, Immanuel Healing Prayer and emotional focus therapy. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't know what that is. So she's like, well, we could try it and see what you think. Great. I'm like, I'm down. I need healing. And then 2020, well, I'm sorry, I skipped a part. 2020 happened. So we are in COVID. We are in just kind of starting COVID. And the Lord says, yes, you're not going anywhere. You're staying home and you are getting healing. And I was like, oh, wow. Like everything started shutting down. Nothing was open. And he's like, here you go. You are going to be at home and you're going to get some healing. And I was like, well, okay. So it was through that. And that's what she did, Immanuel Healing with me. And it's using brain science, pardon me, and biblical principles together. And we use, trying to put it in the right words here, appreciation and gratitude also with it. And you tie that together. And basically, I'm in the back seat and you and Jesus get to meet together. So I introduce you with Jesus, the real, tangible, living presence of Immanuel, God with us. Because even if you didn't know he was there or know him when these bad things were happening to you or to me in my case, he was there. So you go back and he takes you back to those places and he shows you where he was in that scene. So whatever the scene was, so he showed me that the garden that I went to, because I never knew this man. I always saw this man and he was in white and I was never afraid of him, but I didn't know it was Jesus because I didn't have a relationship yet. So then through Immanuel, he's like, oh, that was me. Took me back to the garden. That was me. I rescued you. So even though this bad thing was happening physically and mentally to you down here, I took you away from it so that you would be whole and you would be okay. Like your brain would be okay. Mentally, I would be okay. So basically, like he saved me in those times. So I did like 2 years of Immanuel Healing with her. And I all of a sudden was like, oh my gosh, like I want women to get healing. Like I want to help women. Like I don't want them to be in their 50s or late 40s and wait to get healing. Like because you can have it now. And it's Immanuel prayer is not just for healing. It's just to meet with Jesus and really connect with him. And I love how you and Larissa were having the conversation. Larissa was having the conversation about being a Christian and just praying and prayer being enough. Well, I agree with you all. It wasn't enough for me. So Immanuel is completely different. You meet with Jesus. I don't tell you, oh, do you think you need to forgive so-and-so? Nope. I don't prophesy. There's no prophecy. There's nothing like that. I'm just walking you through, asking you questions. It's very, very gentle. Some of the coaches that I do a free mini session for people so they can kind of see what it's about because it is so different than anything else I've ever seen anywhere. And people are like, oh my gosh, like that was great. It was so relaxing. It was so gentle. And I'm like, yeah, because it's Jesus. It's not me. I don't have an agenda. Like I already had my own healing. Like if you get healing, woo, I'm proud of you. I'm glad I'm going to be with you, but I'm not doing the healing for you. Like it's your journey, not mine. You know what I mean? Like we all have to walk out our own journey. And I'm so passionate about helping women. I've also done a lot of trauma classes because I want to focus on the trauma part. And we all have parts that we do when we go through stuff like this. We have protector parts. We have parts that keep us over here. We've got little part over here that's afraid to cry. We all have parts because we live in a fallen world. And so
Mhm.
Jesus just nurtures those parts, and he shows us like, oh, I was here. Here I
Mhm.
was. Oh, your mom was yelling at you, or your dad was doing, oh, here I was. This person was hurting you. Oh, look, here I
Yeah.
was. And he showed me the roots, like deep, deep roots that I
Mhm.
and false beliefs that I had about myself. Like, I'm not smart enough. I'm dumb, because
Yeah.
I was always called an idiot. So I believed in my head. I would see people like yourself doing podcasts or writing books or whatever. And I knew God had called me to write a book. And I was like, no, I'm not smart enough to do that. I can't write a book. Like, do a
Mhm.
podcast? I can't do that. I'm not smart enough. I really, truly believe that I was not smart enough.
Yeah.
So these deep roots came out. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I am. And it was like some of the things that did, it was from my gut. Like there were spiritual darknesses, spiritualities
Mhm.
holding on to me from my gut, darkness. And it suddenly just came from my gut and boom,
Yeah.
completely gone. Like,
Yeah.
and I want to help women do that. I want to help them heal. I want to help them right where they are. I want to be a safe space, however that looks for them.
Mhm.
I want to be that for someone else, like the counselor was for me. It
I
was
love
life
what it is
changing.
you're doing. I absolutely love what you're doing because, Emmanuel is just God with us, right? And when you
Yeah.
have Jesus, you actually have everything
Hmm.
because he is the source of everything. I don't believe that people can be healed without Jesus. Like period point blank. Like you could go
Yeah.
through whatever healing you go through
Hmm.
and you can read as many books as you want to read and you can do all the things that you want to do. But if you ain't got God, if you're not spending time being intimate with Jesus, you're not
Yeah.
really healed.
Hmm.
What you are going through is false perception. You think you're healed, but you're not. Because when you look at your lifestyle, it's not reflective of healing. It reflects, I'm still trying to find my healing in other things. And what you're really teaching people is to go to the source, right? Don't
Yeah.
go to the sound
Hmm.
bars and things like that. Go to the source of Jesus.
Hmm.
Because when you do that, you find everything it is that you need. And I think that's powerful. And I think that's what you're doing is really good. So I love that. I love that. But
Thank
Leah,
you.
we could be
Yeah.
here all day long. We could be here all day long talking about this. I want you to, walk somebody, who's going through something like what you have experienced. And what would you say to them right now to encourage them to get to a space where they can reach their healing?
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you've gone through similar experiences as Tammy and I have, I just want to tell you that it is not your fault. And you are not alone, no matter what the enemy tells you. You're not alone. And reach out to someone, reach out to anyone. There are so many resources now. But like Tammy said, Jesus is the true healing. I did a lot of things. I read books, like she said, trying to heal myself, trying to do this, trying to be a better mom and not flip out. I did all the things. I prayed. Oh man, I prayed and prayed and prayed. And praying alone, it did not heal the deep, dark depths of what happened to me because trauma's deep and it changes you and it changes your thought patterns and it changes your thought processes. And you have to make new neural pathways when you're abused like we have been. The neural pathways disconnect and you have to create new ones. And Jesus is the best one to do that because he created you. I want to see you for you become your true self. Tammy's talked about it in her podcast about being your false self, putting on a mask, putting on a persona. I don't want that for you. And Jesus doesn't want that for you. He created you for connection, not rejection. So reach out to me. I'm on Facebook, Restored and Redeemed, Taleah Pletzer. Email hearthealing123@gmail.com. And I just want to thank you again for having me on today, Tammy. It was awesome. I look forward to other conversations.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So y'all, I want y'all to make sure that you are reaching out to her. You mentioned the book that you had written. What was that book? Real quick.
It's not out yet.
Okay.
I'm in process. It's
Okay.
my memoir. So it is going to be done this year. I don't have a date quite yet.
Okay. Okay.
God is morphing it. It was a story about the trauma and all that, and he has totally, completely turned it around to a story of healing. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to share. I'm going to be doing some little group of manuals in there for people, teaching them how to ask for help, how to tell
Mhm.
somebody, like we talked about, and then how to even confront their abuser. And then how to get the healing that they need.
I love it. I love it. I love that you are doing the work. Y'all, you see, the work is continuous. It's continuous.
Mhm.
And when you get to that
Yeah.
phase, God is going to have you do more things because the goal is to go out and help other people, disciple them, and
Mhm.
bring them all back to Him. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
Woo!
thank you. Thank you, Taleah. This has been an
Mm.
amazing conversation. I am so glad that I've had you on today. You are truly a testament of you can get through anything. God is with you through
Amen.
everything. And so I absolutely love that. Y'all, if you have been tuning in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share and listen. Healing is your portion. God does not want you to suffer in silence. He does not want you
Mhm.
to remain isolated and alone. He wants to free you of everything that you've experienced that is not of Him. He wants to free you of the
Mhm.
pain and the shame and the guilt and everything it is that you have been attached to in regards to your healing. He wants you to be healed. He wants you to be whole. And you can only find that in Jesus. I don't care what
Yep.
nobody say, not just a
Mhm.
counselor. You need Jesus and therapy, right?
Yep.
And so I
Amen.
want you
Yeah.
to understand that you can find whatever you need in God. Okay. And He, in this day and age that we live in, He is literally giving you the resources and the people to connect with and the tools that you need so that you can get to a place of healing. And so if you stay there, it's because you want to be there. But God doesn't want you to stay there. He wants you to come out. And so find
Mhm.
your safe space, find your safe person, find your environment, find somebody to share your story with, because you have to be your whole self. When you're in your relationship, He wants all of you. He wants intimacy with you so that you can have intimacy with the Father. And so make sure that you tap in. We are going to put all of your links down at the bottom of the comments so that everybody will be able to have an opportunity to connect with you. But I want to thank you again, Taleah, for joining the Sex Ed for Saints podcast. And so thank you again. Thank you again. And so with that, we're going to say bye.
I thank you so much. It's been an honor and pleasure.
All right. All right. All right. That was beautiful.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Now, friends, if this conversation blessed you, do me a favor. Take a moment to like, leave a review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, because you already know we need more faith filled, real conversations like this in the world. And listen, I know you heard a gem today, something that made you pause, something that made you think, something that made you say, woo, this was for me. But friend, it might not be just for you. So go ahead and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Send it to a friend, a spouse, a sister in Christ, somebody who's been feeling stuck or silent in this area. Let's spread healing, freedom, and truth one conversation at a time. And until next time, we're going to get candid, but keep it God. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Let's sing this out.